Hey guys, it's masatonic. I'm Bilingual Harukist. 皆さん、こんにちは。Bilingual Harukist の masatonic です。Haruki Murakami book guide short story 12 LEDERHOSEN. In this video, I'd like to talk about Haruki Murakami's short story, which is named LEDERHOSEN. Actually, this is quite famous and also very popular, at least in Japanese readers. And there are so many, how to say, explanations and or interpretations of this book. If you Google it, you can find it, at least in Japanese. I'm sorry, I don't know in the English cases or other languages, but it's very interesting. And then, how to say, you can imagine or you can think about it very many ways. What's the story's meaning? So, and then, but still, it's not so famous to the, I think, majority of Murakami's readers, because Murakami is basically very famous for long novels writer, say 1Q84 or Norwegian Wood or Kafka on the Shore, etc. And then as a short story writer, his other work is more famous, say like TV People or The Elephant Vanishes, Blind Widow and Sleeping Woman, etc. But and still, LEDERHOSEN is one of very well-written short stories and very popular, at least in Japan. So I hope this video make you want to read this book. That's very I'm glad. So let's get started. As always, this video consists of 3 parts: first, overview, and second, story, and third, how I enjoy it, or my suggestion to reading deeply. Okay, first, overview. This title, LEDERHOSEN, originally written for collection of short stories in Japan, in the Japanese title, Dead Hit Over Carousel. And unfortunately, this book itself not translated directly into English, but the work, the LEDERHOSEN itself, is contained in the Elephant Vanishes. It's also a collection of short stories, but the contents is slightly different from a Japanese one, because the Elephant Vanishes is a kind of much more from the many other collection of short stories they gathered the works. So, but in Japan, originally this is contained or written for this one, Dead Hit of Carousel, in the Japanese title, 回転木馬のデッドヒート. And I know the dead hit, the definition or meaning or nuance is slightly different between English and Japanese. So I'm not sure that this word dead hit is a good or appropriate translation from Japanese to English, but it's not officially translated into English. So I just written this one, Dead Hit of Carousel. And you can, as I said, you can read this one, LEDERHOSEN, in the Elephant Vanishes, of course, in the Kindle edition, and of course also a paperback edition. And there's one trivia about LEDERHOSEN. As I said, Murakami originally firstly written this LEDERHOSEN to the collection of short stories Dead Hit of Carousel, and after that, this work translated into English when contained in The Elephant Vanishes, translated by Alfred Birnbaum, and Birnbaum kind of edit the story itself, not just directly translated. It's kind of just little bit shortened, and then not just direct translation, but how to say, his interpretation is, he did his own interpretation. And Haruki Murakami read the, how to say, edit translated version, and he thought, oh, this is not so bad. And then he adopted his such edit, and then published in the English market, contained in the Elephant Vanishes. And after that, this one collection of short stories, The Elephant Vanishes, is published in Japan as a Japanese collection of short stories, and then how to say content is same as English one, and basically majority of works just original Japanese text contained it in when the Japanese one published in 2000 or after 2000. And in Japanese title, 象の消滅 means the elephant vanished. But in about LEDERHOSEN is Haruki Murakami retranslate from English Alfred Bam's edited version to Japanese. So it's not same as the original Haruki Murakami Japanese text. It's very complicated, but it's interesting, isn't it? So as a how to say Haruki Murakami's point of view, at first he wrote a novel which is named LEDERHOSEN and published in the Red Heat of Carousel. And after that, his translator Alfred Bam edit and translate into English kind of shorter version. And after that, Haruki Murakami translated that shorter version into Japanese again. And then so there is two versions of Japanese text of LEDERHOSEN. The kind of original or old one and the new or edited one. And of course, basically same story, but the Japanese is different and then slightly nuance is different. So this is the kind of trivia of LEDERHOSEN. I think it's very interesting, isn't it? So, and what kind of story LEDERHOSEN is? Let's move into our next chapter. It's a very basically simple story. It's a divorce story. Due to LEDERHOSEN, one lady had been divorced. One couple had been divorced. So, due to LEDERHOSEN is a key point. Why LEDERHOSEN makes some couple divorce. This is a key point. And then let's say structure is slightly complicated because narrator or protagonist, it seems to be Haruki Murakami himself or I in Japanese boku. And he welcomed his wife's friend, bit complicated. My wife, Haruki Murakami's point of view, my wife's friend and I, the conversation is one part, and her mother, her means his wife's friend, the mother's story is another part. So it's kind of parallel. In present, narrator and his wife's friend had a conversation about this divorce story, and she started to talk about her mother's divorce story. And the other part, her mother's story is going on. So, and then, how to say, in part, the story is in parallel that goes. And in her mother's story, she talked about how LEDERHOSEN make her decide to divorce with her husband. At first, she means has a wife's friend mother visited Germany, and this is her almost first time to travel alone in the overseas. So she kind of feel very, how to say, very open because it's very first time to enjoy the freedom by her own. And then she really enjoyed it, German tour. And then as a souvenir, she asked by her husband, LEDERHOSEN this. It's a Germany kind of short pants or half pants. And she visited the shop of LEDERHOSEN. But it's a very famous LEDERHOSEN shop, but that shop has their own principle or rule, very strict one. And the owner of the shop told her, in principle, we didn't we didn't sell to the, how to say, other people. If you want LEDERHOSEN of this shop, you how to say wear needed here in person, and then trying on and adjust the size. So and other people is not allowed to buy lederhosen here. So this is our shop's principle, he said. And but this is first and maybe a last time to visit Germany to buy a lederhosen. So this is her last chance, and she never gave she did not give up. And then how she do it? She tried to find some other person who has a almost same how to say size and yeah size of her husband. Of course, the people is Germany, so Germany people and the Japanese people is slightly different. But she tried to find, and she find that guy who really likes his husband, and she asked him to try on lederhosen on behalf of her husband. And the Germany guy accept her request because this is kind of very funny. And at least at first, the shop's owner very reluctant to accept her request, but finally he accepted her request. And then as a kind of a proxy husband, Germany husband went visit the lederhosen shop and trying on the lederhosen, and finally she could get the lederhosen. But this activity or procedure itself um, may make her decide to divorce. And then after return back to Japan, she did not went straight her home, but she she went back to her younger sister's house in very far area and far from Tokyo. And then she will not contact 2 to 3 months, and after that she just phone to call to her husband, and she asked or she told she had decided to divorce. That's a story. So trying on later Hosen make her decide to divorce. And of course the couple had divorced after that. And then this is a how to say narrator's wife's friend's mother's story. And then this story had been told by narrator's wife's friend. So she is a daughter. As a daughter, um, she she had to accept her parents' divorce as a child. So of course it's kind of shock. And then she she means narrator's wife's friend really disappointed because um, their parents' divorce itself is she can accept because his her father has when he had was a young days he had some kind of he had a women on the other than how to say his house. So their couple divorce itself she can accept, but at that time she want to go with her mother, but her mother also dumped and narrator's friends herself. So at that time she had very shocked and disappointed, and furious she can't accept that fact, or she can't forgive her mother. But a few years later, her mother told her this story, German tour, triangle later was and divorce. She she can finally accept. It's very hard to accept and I'd say forgive her. But as a woman, she said, I can sympathize with her. And then narrator said, so key point is triangle later Hosen. And she said, yes, this is the story of later Hosen. So how should we think about this story? So let's move into the how I enjoyed or my suggestion to deep read. Of course, first, we should think about how later Hosen make her make her decide to divorce. This is a very key point. And you can, if you Google it, maybe you had a kind of answer. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure in the English case, but at least in Japanese, there are a few interpretations, and some of them are quite very seem to be answered. But of course, this is a literature. So in literature world, there is no single answer. So we should not accept one single answer. So in a way, but in this case, the some interpretation is very, very hard to say persuasive. So before you can you search or you Google or take a look at Wikipedia, let's think about it. Let's think about it. How LEDERHOSEN made trick on her. So this is a good way of deep lead. All right. Okay. And and the second tips is it might be difficult, but if you can read Japanese, let's read all the original text and then new text, and of course English one. So you can, if you can read Japanese, you can. There are three texts in front of you: original Japanese and the English edited version and the Japanese retranslated version. And let's check the differences between among three texts. That's very interesting way. Actually, I know this facts itself, but I still not check text by text such a observation. So later I will try what's the difference of it. This is and in the future I'd like to talk about how it's different each event. So it's very interesting way to deep read. And the third proposition is let's beat the German. So German is a very kind of very key point, how to say, key set of this novel, LEDERHOSEN. And Haruki Murakami's work, sometimes German has some kind of influence because in Norwegian, say, for instance, in Norwegian, the opening scene is the narrator or protagonist, Mr. Watanabe, landed on the Germany airport. Actually, that's Hamburg airport. It's same as LEDERHOSEN. The narrator's friend's mother had visited in Hamburg airport. So it's the same as Norwegian as Mr. Watanabe. So maybe there is some mystery or secret in Germany. So now is under corona pandemic, it's very hard to travel around the world. But after this pandemic, you can go. And if you visit German, maybe some kind of new findings you can find. Of course, with the Haruki Murakami's book is I highly recommend it. So how it's go? Thank you for watching my video. So I hope this video make you want to read LEDERHOSEN. So if you like this video, please give me a high rate. And also, I would appreciate if you subscribe my channel. So let's see you next video. Auf Wiedersehen.